every story starts with a blank page. This one has the title Pound Foolish and by J. Wilburn. And from there, I will tell you a story. So let's see if we can figure this out. David screamed all the way up the hall to his mother Maggie's room. It was blood curdling. As usual. And Maggie hoped, not for the first time, that probably needs a comma there. Hoped not, oh, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll pull it off the side here. Alright. Chilling out and doing nothing is my writing process. That's funny. That's probably the healthiest way to do it. It was blood curdling as usual, and Maggie hoped, not for the first time, that the neighbors would sleep through it and not call the cops. Let's say no cops had been called since the kid's father had left for good, and that's how Maggie liked it. Alright. I wanted to put in there that she was a single mom. I didn't necessarily want the father to be a bad guy necessarily, but I didn't know any other way with how I started it out to naturally put that in. So I may go back and change that later to just not make that an element of the story. But that may work out later with kind of what I had planned, so we'll see about it. Alright. She had time to turn on her side table light and sat up as he burst. Let's say David again. As little David burst through the door. She had her arms out and he barreled into them. Barreled into them. The edge of her mattress only absorbed part of the impact. As her eyes adjusted to the light, I'm going to make this a new paragraph because I kind of get a different idea going here. Alright, as her eyes adjusted to the light, excuse me, I'm sorry. As her eyes adjusted to the light, she checked him over. Hey Armand, thanks for dropping in, writing a little short story here. As his eyes I need it to be her, because Maggie is the mom and she identifies as female. Alright, as her eyes adjusted to the light, she checked him for any real injuries. She didn't expect to find any, but there was always a part of her that knew the first time she decided he was faking and needed to be ignored, he'd really have a life-threatening something, let's say, going on. Alright, so we'll hyphenate that. That was her kind of luck. Anytime she let her guard down, and Maggie never let herself forget that. Okay. He blubbered through his tears, and she let him wind on for a while. It quickly became clear that he was... Okay, I need to fix quickly there. I'll quickly fix quickly, and then we'll be on with our business. Okay, it quickly became clear he was winding up tonight and not down. Alright. Okay, let's say Maggie. Maggie took his little head in both her hands by his hot cheeks, let's say warm cheeks, and gently forced his head away from her right boob. She used her thumbs to wipe the most recent tears from under his eyes. This tended to calm him, at least a little, and gave a signal that it was time to calm down and explain his recent terrors. I don't want to say his recent because I've already done it once. His current terrors and sorrows as best he could. She took the next couple seconds of his hitching breaths to check the clock. A few minutes before midnight. Okay. This was going to be a night she could still catch up on her sleep, or it was going to be a very, very long night with many repeated interruptions. There was really no in between. Whenever David started up this early. Come on, honey. Tell me what it is so we can take care of it together. This set him off again instead of calming him down. The only words she could make out were no and not going back in there. So this was going to be a long night. She took him firmly. By the shoulders this time. He shook from her grasp. He shook, no, let's not say from, shook in her grasp. But she didn't shake him. Maybe that was a fine line. Hey Frank, I missed you coming in. Cashing up the J coin, alright. Maybe that was a fine line. But she damn well knew which side of it she was on. Still, he needed to get it together because they had school and she had work in 6 hours, counting prep time. Stop it right now. Tell me what's wrong. We both need our sleep, and we are doing that in our own beds. So tell me now what's wrong, or get over it and go back. To that, he shook, let's say to that. Did you modify a J Wilburn emote there? To that, David David shook his head hard from side to side as he pulled away from her hands, but not toward her open door. What is it, David? Say it. The clown is back. She did her best not to roll her eyes at her frightened son, but she failed. Which clown is that? He had a few such imaginary visitors over his short years. The same one. Allie's clown. He's back. I can hear them laughing through the wall. She's probably... Hey, Tom Duffy. That seems to be the popular modification to the J. Wilburn emote there now. She's probably just talking in her sleep. Honey, it happens. I saw him. I saw him. Maggie paused at that. Not because she believed Allie really did have a magic clown coming out of her closet from time to time, but because David was so set in his declaration tonight. Let's go take a look, and then I'll rub your back a little before you go back to... Alright, let's get an M dash in there, which requires 3 buttons. Okay. I'm not going back in there, David declared. I'll sleep in one of the closets. Not her closet, but I'm not going back there. This was new. Not the fear of Allie's imaginary clown friend, but this level of terror was new. Okay, David, but I'm going to check on her. So if you don't come with me... Alright, let me fix this. So if you don't come with me, you will be in here alone. Okay. That flat response gave Maggie pause as well. she was sure that would work to get his feet moving. But instead of coming to her side, he backed up to the wall beside her lamp and stared past her at the door. Okay. Maggie started to say, David. She stared into his wide eyes a moment and then turned away. Okay. As she entered the hall, let's say the dark hallway, with the shallow splatter of light from the Bluebird nightlight. Okay, as she entered the dark hallway with the shallow splatter of light from the Bluebird nightlight between the bathroom and the kids' rooms, David, okay, I don't know what I was spelling there, but that wasn't the name David. David piped up, close the door. Close the door behind you. She did not, and he didn't move from his spot against her far wall. From his spot against her far wall to do it himself. Then she heard, okay, how you get a crown and in the first icons. You need to subscribe. I'm not sure. You got to be one of the first 10, but it rotates if someone drops off, then you can still sneak in and get one of those crowns. But you got to subscribe to the channel and be one of the 10 if someone happens to be dropped off. So even though it doesn't like go to the 11th guy, it goes to like the next subscriber. So I don't know how it works there exactly. But you gotta sneak in when there's one available and be one of the first 10 to grab it when one is up. All right. Wow, what a racket! Yeah, it is. It is about the money here. I'm sorry. I guess you got snuck into the platform there. You didn't realize that all this writing stuff was about the money. What a racket! All right. Then she heard the laughter. It was high, shrill, and tittery. All right, that's not a word. No, but I'm going to make it a word anyway because you can titter, so you can describe laughter as tittery. I'm going to do that. It was definitely Allie. About 5 years older than David. with middle school. Alright, that needs to be lower. I definitely don't personally equate writing to money. Well, chances are one of us is doing it right and one of us is doing it wrong. It is also possible that we are both doing it wrong, which I won't discount as a likely possibility. All right, then she heard the laughter. It was high, shrill, and tittery. It was definitely Allie. About, do I want her to be more than 5 years? By being awesome. It was definitely Allie, about 5 years older than David and halfway done with middle school. She had to be asleep. None of that slowed down Maggie's heart. Maybe David had a point, but she wasn't about to start letting him sleep in her bed now. It would never end if she allowed it once. Okay. As she continued on, the sleepy mutters followed behind her daughter's door. With her hand on the knob, a man's voice came muffled. And she froze again. It wasn't terribly deep. That wasn't Allie, unless she was affecting in some manner that Maggie had never heard before. She probably needed to cut David some slack tonight with those noises. Then there were definitely two voices laughing over one another beyond that door. Maggie slung it open and turned on the light. Allie was sitting up in her bed with her back to the wall and let out a little cry as she covered her eyes with her fists against the harsh introduction of full light. Alright. It was that damn clown that had all of Maggie's attention, though. His face was indeed painted in grease white, along with cracked shapes of blue, red, I'll say blue and red with some black outlines. There might have been other colors too, but her eyes were adjusting to the light as well. He gave her a wide painted smile. That made her weak down the center of her body. Okay, he wasn't really painted up like the Joker or that nightmare clown from the Stephen King movies, but he certainly exuded aspects of all those terrifying characters. There was something else too. There was something else too, a thing none of those cartoon fantasies could match. This clown, this man in clown makeup in her daughter's room at midnight was real. All the silly movie terror that Hollywood could invent did not match the horror of seeing a real man violating a place where your children slept with patches of skin showing through where, okay, let me fix this. Patches of skin, I'll say human skin, patches of human skin showing through where sweat or hand or fingers might have smeared makeup away. It was terrifying in a John Wayne Gacy sort of reality shock. She felt a certainty she was going to be hurt or maybe die here tonight, and likely her children would follow. But Maggie's muscles tightened into murderous springs as she prepared to do all she could to stop him from going past her life to do any more harm. She would gouge out his eyes. She would bite into his greasy painted throat. Maggie was seconds or less from injuring him in every way possible, with no interest in protecting her own life in the process. Let's say the clown, wearing a funny black hat, and wearing a funny black hat and carrying holding, he's not really carrying because he's not moving, and holding a shiny black cane, rose into the air, almost to the ceiling. As he folded his legs into a seated position in the air. That took all the coiled danger out of Maggie in a moment, in an instant. He held out his white gloved hand. Let's change his to thee. He held out the white gloved hand, not holding the cane, and said, "I saw it in your eyes, and I respect it deeply. But that won't be necessary tonight." Allie gave out a little laugh, a giggle that was younger than her years. This is pound foolish, Mom. He came for a visit. Maggie backed into a dresser as her knees tried to give out on her. Trophies from activities Allie had abandoned long ago, rattled against each other as the dresser bore Maggie's weight. Maggie's sagging weight. That's not entirely true. Pound foolish said as he floated down from the ceiling in what... No, let's just keep it at that. As he floated down from the ceiling with his legs still folded. Allie called me to make a little wish. I want you to leave my house, Maggie said, barely above a whisper. Okay. Pound foolish. Pound foolish. Continued speaking as if Maggie had said nothing at all. I'm not some sort of genie or wish granter by trade, but I've been known to see a thing through from time to time. Okay, let me make sure genie is spelled correctly. All right. Get out of her room. Alright, hold on. I typed that. Alright. Let's do this. Get out of her room. Maggie yelled as she stood back up fully on legs that supported her, and then screamed at the floating clown. Get away from her. I'll say both her children spoke at once from opposite sides of the house. David, let's say David called out, Mommy, are you okay? Let's say from the sound of his voice, he had moved from her room out into the hallway again. What level of courage that must have taken. Okay. At the same time, Allie spoke more quietly. Mom, he's a friend. It's fine. I'll say pound foolish. Floated down to Allie's bed and almost lighted next to her on the rumpled sheets. Maggie charged forward and put let's say both her fists into his upper chest before he could land. Alright. She felt his collarbones under her knuckles, like any real man might have. As he propelled backward in the air, she smelled what? She smelled an earthy mix of makeup and sweat. Alright. Pound foolish. Said we like it was great fun as he flipped over, bounced off a wall. As he flipped over, bounced off a wall, leaving a white streak on one of Allie's posters. And landed on his feet in the center of the room. Mom, Allie scolded. Maggie stepped between her daughter and the clown, which was exactly what she wanted, as long as he was still here, say magic or not. As she turned, I'll say no, as she darted her head to spy David cowering in the hall. Pound Foolish gave out a loud, rippling fart as his weight settled into his oversized shoes on the bedroom carpet. Her eyes, let's say Maggie glanced at Allie behind her in time to see her daughter cover her mouth to stifle another childish giggle. Pound Foolish lifted his hat off of a wide, bald patch that was also greased over white, and he bowed as if that were quite a performance. Maggie brought up both her tight fists in front of her. I'll see this thing through for you, Allie, as you have wished. Leave her alone. Leave, Maggie demanded. He swept toward the door and Maggie took a step toward him. He gave a low laugh that seemed to carry humor and none at all at the same time. You're a tiger, Maggie. A MRFer tiger. Leave. I am, dear. I am. David, get back. Maggie yelled as she followed behind the clown. But David stood his ground. At the edge of the turn, where Pound Foolish would need to go in order to leave, if in fact he was using doors like an ordinary human. Light from the bluebird spilled over her son's skin in sinister ways. Thank you, Allie called from her bed. Your wish is my command, he said. Your wish is my command, he said, as he paused beside David. David said, I want to say David growled, "Get away from my mother and sister." Good man. Pound Foolish. Pound Foolish said as he obeyed and made his way to the front door. All right. David grabbed his mother's side and squeezed painfully as she watched the clowns retreating back. He wasn't gone yet. What did you wish? Maggie heard herself say. The clown laughed as he opened the door and stepped out into the chilly night without closing it back behind him. David let go of her and moved toward the front door. Maybe he intended to close it, David let go of her and moved toward the front door. Maybe he intended to close it behind the clown, but she grabbed her son's shoulder before he could go to do it. Allie, what did you wish? What is he going to do? Her daughter rolled over in her fully lit room and pulled up her sheets. Don't worry about it, Mom. It's none of your business. Okay, now that sounded age appropriate. But Maggie wouldn't accept it. Not tonight. Not after seeing this nightmare clown was real. Allie, tell me. Say the girl gave no answer, but David said, "It's Vanessa." Good grief, am I not able to spell anymore? Alright, it's Vanessa. Okay. She wished him on Vanessa. Allie shot bolt upright in her bed and cried out, "You little tattletale." With all the adrenaline, okay, let me spell that correctly. With all the adrenaline soaked shock of the night, it took Maggie a few seconds to process what she had heard. Vanessa was a kid who lived across the street and down a few houses. She was one grade higher than Allie and a bit of a mean girl bully, even though they had been somewhat friends years ago. Maggie didn't care for Vanessa's parents almost as much as Allie now loathed Vanessa. What did you send that clown to do?" Maggie demanded. Allie rolled her eyes and started to lay back down. "No, you tell me right now. I swear you will regret it your whole life if you don't answer me now, little girl." Allie froze up. Allie froze up and stared at her mother with wide eyes. Maggie half expected David to tell her the rest, but Allie came forth with a voice younger than her age. It was just, she's so mean to me. What did you tell that thing to do to her? Let's say to Vanessa. Tell me now. Tell me right now, let's say. Small voice again. Go with Allie's shrinking posture. I just wished for him to take care of her. What does that mean? Allie gave hound dog eyes, but no answer. What does that mean? David clutched his mother even harder. I think he's going to kill her, Mom. Maggie moved toward the open front door, where the chill had invaded deep into the house. Mom, no, don't go. Stay here with us. Please don't go. Please don't go out there. Let's say Maggie had to pry her son's arms off her and even shove him backward a little. Allie called from her bed. Maggie ran the rest of the way out of her house. You two stay inside and stay together. Maggie ran the rest away out of her house. You two stay inside and stay together. This time, she closed the door. Pound Foolish must have been strolling. Because he had only just, let's say because he was still outside Vanessa's family's front door as Maggie ran diagonally through the street. Maggie ran diagonally through the street. Okay. But that didn't last long, as one more kick from an oversized shoe blasted door inward in 3 pieces, away from the deadbolt and the hinges. Screams, let's say, screams drifted out of that open doorway as Maggie charged across the lawn and inside. Now, she wished the neighbors would wake up to call the police. It wasn't really that kind of neighborhood, though. They were more the kind that would come out to watch. They were more the kind that would come out to watch, as it wasn't really that kind of neighborhood, though. They were more the kind that would come out to watch as the police cleaned up the mess later. Okay. Not a very nice neighborhood, I guess. Alright. Maggie followed the screams. Let me put a comma there. Followed the screams, turning on the lights as she went. She had no idea where the girls' room was, or let's say or what she could do about it. when she found it. She stood in the doorway of the master bedroom. She stood in the doorway of the master bedroom as Pound Foolish pinned Vanessa's father up against a broken patch in the drywall. Behind his back. The man was the one crying and screaming. Pound Foolish Pound Foolish used the tip of his black cane to wipe the tears out from under the grown man's eyes. As the other gloved hand held the large man off his feet and against the wall. The clown hissed. Vanessa's father went silent in shock. The clown said, "That's better. And this will all be better soon." Maggie stepped forward to do something. She wasn't sure what. She wasn't sure what exactly. But something needed to be done. What did you do to the girl? Pound Foolish glanced over his shoulder at her. The man against the wall showed his teeth and tried to throw a few punches. He knocked off the clown's hat and smeared a couple spots down to human colored skin, but otherwise the blows had no effect. Through a broad smile, Pound Foolish addressed her. Look at you, Tiger. What did you do to her? I'm taking care of her like the wish demanded. You're a monster. The world is full of them. The clown turned back on the man and drove his white forehead into the man's face over and over. The wall crumbled as the man was driven deeper into it. Let's see, white paint, pink insulation, and bright red blood covered his face. The nose twisted. The eyes closed up, and teeth stuck to the ruined paint on Pound Foolish's head. The pounding continued. What's happening? Why is this happening? Maggie whirled around to see Vanessa in sweatpants and an old t-shirt that was too big for her. Maggie held out her arms to the unharmed girl, who came to her and held her as tight as David had. Oh gosh, I got something in my eye. Feels like an eyelash, but that's going to be a problem if I'm going to keep streaming. turned the girl away from the violence. Don't cry, the story isn't that sad. It's very sad, Armand, but it really is an eyelash. It hurts really bad. I'm hoping it'll pass. Maggie turned the girl away from the violence. I will say my office finally warmed up. I had that heater going all morning. So it's finally gotten comfortable in here. Okay. Maggie turned the girl away from the violence. Where is your mother? I don't know. She didn't come home. Sometimes she does that. Maggie turned to see the clown staring at her. Maggie turned to see the clown staring at her again, as he still held up the pulp. Let's say the crying pulp that used to be this girl's father. He's a hitter. Pound Foolish said. Very brave when the target is too small to fight back. Many guys like him are, as I'm sure you know. What are you doing? She growled at him. Alright, we're near the end of this. I'm taking care of her. Just like, no, let's keep this the same sentence. Taking care of her just like the wish called for. I'm seeing a thing through. Sometimes there is only one way to convince a monster that his reign of terror has ended. Let him go, Maggie said. Just stop this. Pound Foolish frowned, and Maggie hated that more than his madman smile. Take it from a monster who knows, Tiger. This one has to go. He has to go all the way down. I'm taking this one with me. I never want to see you again. Maggie said. I'm no genie. Pound Foolish told her over the moans of the man with the ruined face. I'm not about the business of wish granting. As a rule, I will see a thing through, though. When a thing needs doing. Let's say the clown released the man's body and let him crumple to the floor. Floor beaded with spattered blood. Pound Foolish took up his hat and settled it back on his head, covering the loose teeth stuck there. Maggie expected that to be it, and she started to release the girl. Then the clown lifted his cane over his head and went to work again. The black cane whistled through the air. And each meaty impact came with the crack of bones. I don't want to be here anymore, Vanessa cried into Maggie's chest. Maggie walked her down the hall toward the missing front door and away from the bloody bedroom. Pound Foolish laughed. High, shrill, and tittery. High, shrill, and tittery in a voice that sounded too much like Allie's. Vanessa went with Maggie across the street toward her house willingly enough. Say Maggie started to wonder how far away they would have to get before that laughter would die out. She also wondered what was to be done with her daughter. Let's say with her own daughter. That had somehow summoned all this. Alright, boom, that's it.